How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. It's my favorite time of the season. A little projection, a little prediction of what we think is going to happen with some Cincinnati Bengals players. We're going to talk about the wide receiver by the name of T. Higgins today. We're going to go over some pros, we're going to do a little cons action, and we're going to give you a stat line on T. Higgins this season. Now, looking at T. Higgins, first and foremost, Joe Burrow 115 passer rating, throwing the football to T. Higgins last season. Very, very impressive. T. Higgins, best of his career, best amongst him or Jamar Chase between the two of them, their entire careers. Just to kind of put that into perspective, a little over 1,000 receiving yards, mid-70s in receptions, 2 straight seasons, a little over 1,000 receiving yards, 2 straight seasons. We're starting to see him kind of, I don't want to say he plateaus, because I think we watched, and this is the thing with T. Higgins, we've seen that the second half of, not this year, but the last season, where he was just 100-yard after 100, I think it was 6 straight, 4, 5, 6 straight, where he had 100-yard games. And it was like, man, when this guy comes into his own and plays like this going into next season, this is going to be a disgusting wide receiver bunch. And it is a really good wide receiver bunch. But I think a lot of us was thinking, hey, this guy's going to have, 1,200 to 1,300 receiving yards, and he ended up with 1,000. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. Now, mind you, he did deal with a little injury action. He played through some of it. He played. There was a game where he suited up and he played. I want to say he played. Did he play? He played like 10 snaps or so. I don't know if he played much more than. I don't know if he played. There was another game. Same situation. Something Higgins has unfortunately dealt with throughout his career. Now, when he first came into the league with the Bengals, played the full season. But I mean, dating back to even Clemson, he dealt with a lot of hamstring injuries. So you never want to project it, but you kind of have to project what Teague and say, I do think he misses possibly somewhere from 1 to 3 games this season. And hopefully, that's it. And hopefully he's healthy the entire time. That's really what you'd like to see here out of T. Higgins. Another thing I like about him is that big athletic frame he's got. He's got a wide catch radius. And I'm waiting for it still. I think when the Cincinnati Bengals get that offensive line figured out and Joe Burrow's got time to sit back there and throw the football, I really do think that's when we see the most of T. Higgins. We see the most of this wide receiver corps. Again, the reason we bring it up in that sort of area here is he had 6 receiving touchdowns 2 straight seasons. He had 7 last season. I really think this guy is a 9, 10 plus touchdown receptions season kind of guy. I don't know why it ain't happened yet. And I think when his offense really starts clicking and Joe Burrow really gets time to sit back there and pick apart defenses, that's going to happen and T. Higgins is going to go off. We'll see this season. We'll see if it happens. As far as some things I'm a little bit concerned about, again, we touched on the injury stuff a little bit. How about, let's talk about the Jamar Chase effect. Now, there's 2 sides of this story. Jamar Chase is going to grab all the attention. You're always going to have that safety playing deep, trying to prevent Jamar Chase from beating him that way. He's always going to have double coverage. But what teams were doing last season, and we've seen this across the board, the Bengals' yards per attempt went down substantially for everybody on the team, is they said, let's run the 2 safeties deep, and they bracket coveraged Chase and Higgins. So essentially, both of them got some form of a double coverage all season, and teams found a way to make that work. Now, again, when Joe Burrow gets a little bit of football or a little bit of time to throw the football, that's going to be a lot more difficult for teams to maintain. And we expect that out of Joe Burrow this season. We expect that offensive line to take another big jump. That being said, the other negative side with Jamar Chase is, I think Jamar Chase, as we know, and as deservedly so, he's a freak of an athlete. He's got incredible speed and quickness. He garners a lot of the screen passes, the bubble screens, the quick slants that can potentially go for 50 or 60. Or, again, the screen passes that might go for 5, that might go for 15. But those types of passes over the course of a season can be the difference in, again, 1, 2, 300 receiving yards. And that's not a shot at T. Higgins. As we mentioned, I think T. Higgins' strong points here is a catch and trap it kind of guy. The guy Joe Burrow can just throw the ball to anytime he wants and just trust his guy's going to beat him one-on-one, and that is a big benefit. But I think one of the things from a statistical standpoint, you say, hey, something that it's a little thing. It's not much T can do about it. I guess he could be a little bit quicker if he wanted to be, but I mean, there's not really much you can do about it because that's just the way the Bengals offense is set up to get Jamar Chase those touches in those areas. It's kind of like having a running back that likes catching the screen passes and other teams that have a separate third down back, if you will. Doesn't necessarily take a shot at the other running back. It's just kind of the system they got going because of the players they got on the team. So T. Higgins, something you consider there. That will affect his receiving yards to an extent. And then again, of course, like we said, Chase was on pace to lead the league in targets last season. You got to imagine he's going to see that again this season. And you got to imagine Tyler Boyd's going to see his 80, 90 receiving or targets again. T. Higgins did see over 100 targets last season. That's great. But you got to remember with Joe Burrow with this Bengals team is he's going to spread that football out a lot. And there might be games T. Higgins sees 2 or 3 targets, maybe 5. There might be games he sees 12 or 13, depends on the game. But again, you look at, say, he's not Justin Jefferson, sorry. But you look at a guy like that, or you look at a guy on a team where he's their number one and they're clear number one. When you're not the clear number one, even though he's a very, very talented receiver, there's so many other talented players on his team to spread the football around. It's going to hurt your stats. Meanwhile, again, let's flip it to the pro side of things. You got Joe freaking Burrow as your quarterback. You got the guy that can be, arguably is trying to be the best quarterback in the league. And he's going to spread that football around, and he's more than capable of throwing for 5,000 yards, 40-plus touchdowns, and he's more than capable of having 3 receivers of 1,000-plus receiving yards this season. He's more than capable of a couple receivers 10-plus tutties. And all that being said, again, you look at T. Higgins, you're going to benefit from that. T. Higgins, a guy that, albeit might not have the most expanded role in some situations. He's a guy that Joe Burrow trusts. He works a sideline like with the best of them, and he's got a big role in his offense because he's a very talented receiver that is going to find a way to get open, even in the double coverage. The league respects him for a reason. The Bengals like him for a reason. We like him for a reason. This guy's got to have a great season still. I think, all of it being said, weighing in the pros, the cons, the Bengals offensive line push-ups, Joe Burrow, again, you talk about a connection. The 115 pass already impresses me. The Joe Burrow T. Higgins connection, it's getting better and better. As you look, that's another thing to look at over the course of each season. They're getting better together. They didn't walk in from LSU together like him and Chase did, where they already had that connection. They had to develop it over time, and they've been doing an excellent job of doing it. I think overall, we see T. Higgins take a step up this season. I think he's going to see about 1,175 receiving yards. I think he sees about 79, 80-ish. We're going to say 80. We're going to say about 80 receptions. And we're going to say he hits 9 touchdowns. I want to give this guy 10. I want to say he's going to hit 12. I don't know if that's me being a homer and a biased Bengals fan, but I'm trying to remain realistic and say, hey, the stats are what the stats are at this point in time. He's been a 6 and 7 touchdown guy over 3 seasons. You gotta take out what it is. I love you guys' thoughts though. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.